Today we're going to learn about making and graphing inequalities with given clues. So on page 305 in your math journal, our math message says, Harry and Susan are playing Number Squeeze, a game they played in earlier grades. Harry chooses a mystery number x between 0 and 50. Susan is guessing his number. So if Susan guesses 7, Harry gives her the clue that 7 is less than his mystery number, or x is greater than 7. Susan guesses 45 next. Harry gives her the clue that x is greater than 45. So what should Susan guess next? We could guess 46, 47, 48, and 49 because all of those numbers are greater than 45, but they're still between 0 and 50. So I'm going to guess 47. Okay, that is a good guess because we know that 47 is greater than 45, but it's also still between our 0 and 50. Okay, so the next part says, Theo and Margaret played a game of Number Squeeze. So for the problems 2 through 5, we're going to do the following. Represent each of the 2 Number Squeeze clues with any inequality. Describe the solution set for the inequalities. Graph the solution set that makes both inequalities true. List 3 numbers that could be the mystery number. Check that they are in the solution sets for both inequalities. So we have the clue that the sum of y and 3 is less than 4. I know that sum means the answer of an addition problem. So y plus 3 is going to be less than 4. Another way I could write this would be y is less than 1. Okay, how did I figure out y is less than 1? So this is similar to what we learned in the last unit with algebraic expressions and balancing out our equations. I'm going to rewrite my inequality to the side here, and now I'm going to solve for each side. So instead of having an equal side, we have, instead of having an equal sign, and I'm trying to find a different color that I can circle this, we have our less than symbol here. Okay, so we're going to balance out each side, and I'm going to do that the same way I did when we did our algebraic expressions. So I subtracted 3 from this side to get y by itself, and I subtracted 3 over here because whatever I do to the one side, I have to do to the other. So y is going to be less than 1. And that's how I got my inequality down here. So the solution set is that all numbers are less than 1. All numbers less than 1 is what can go in for y. So if we have the clue that the number y is greater than -4, then we have y greater than -4. And that is already solved to the simplest form for us. So we have the solution set would be all numbers greater than, because the alligator is eating our y, so all numbers greater than -4. Okay? So to graph it for B, I would go ahead and put a circle around 1, because I have my 0 here, so that would tell me that that's 1. And then I have, so all numbers less than 1, and all numbers greater than -4. So that would have to stop here. And I'm going to leave those circles unshaded because, like we've learned in previous units, we don't shade these circles in unless it is also equal to. So we just have less than 4, and greater than -4. We don't have anything that says less than and equal to or greater than and equal to. So that's why we leave those unshaded. So 3 numbers that y could be is 0, which we have right here. So I'm just listing 3 numbers that fall between 1 and -4. -1/2 could be 1 because -1/2 would be about right here. And then also I could list -3 because I have 0, -1, 2, -3 would go about right there. So it would fall in between. You could have also had -1, -2, and so on. All right, so on Math Journal 306, we have Margaret represents her mystery number with the variable p. Okay, so our inequality, the clue says 1/3 of p is less than or equal to 1.4. So 1/3 of p, I'm going to write my 1/3. I know that of means multiplication from previous lessons. So 1/3 times p is going to be less than or equal to, so I have to have that line underneath my sign, 1.4. Okay, so another way I can write this is p is less than or equal to 4.2. Okay, so how did I get less than or equal to 4.2? So I took 1/3 of p, so 1/3 times p is less than or equal to 1.4, and I had to solve for p. So since this is being multiplied, p is being multiplied by 1/3 over here, I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by 3 so that this can be, since this 1/3 is technically 1 divided by 3, right? So when I multiply by 3, I can cancel it out. So I just have 1 p left over, so I can just write p, and that's all canceled out, and p is by itself. So now I have p is less than and equal to, and 1.4 times 3 is 4.2. So that's how I got this additional inequality. Okay, so the solution set would be all numbers less than or equal to 4.2. All numbers less than or equal to 4.2. Okay, so now on this side, if the number p is greater than 4, that means p is greater than 4. Okay, that's all we need to have. And then p is going to represent all numbers greater than 4. Okay, so to graph that, I find 4 on my number line. And so all numbers greater than 4, but also all numbers less than and equal to 4.2. So if this is 4 here and this is 5, I have to figure out, okay, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks in between. So this would be 4.2 right here, 4.4, 4.6, 4.8, and 5. So I know that this is 4.2 right here, and this is going to be shaded in because it's also equal to, and then my numbers that p can be has to be in between right here. So the three possible numbers that P could be would be 4.1, 4.04, or 4.14, along with several others. So now if for number 4, Theo represents his mystery number with the variable x. The product of x and 3 is less than or equal to 27. So product means multiplication. So x and 3 could be represented as 3x. Up here I wrote 1/3 times p, but we can also show multiplication having our variable and our number right next to each other. So 3x is less than or equal to 27, or to solve x and get it all by itself, I'm going to rewrite that up here, 27. So now if I have 3x and I want to get x by itself, this is technically multiplication. So I need to divide by 3, divide by 3. So now I have this cancels out. X is less than or equal to 9, because 9 times 3 is 27, or 27 divided by 3 equals 9. So it could also be, for my inequality, x is less than or equal to 9. So I'm going to have all numbers less than or equal to 9. All numbers less than or equal to 9 is my solution set. So this side, it says the number x is less than 8.5. So x is less than 8.5, because remember 0.5 is the same as a half. So that solution set would be all numbers less than 8.5, right? So now, in order to graph that, I need to find 8.5, which would be right in between 8 and 9. And I need to find, so all numbers less than 8.5 and all numbers less than and equal to 9. So if x is less than 8.5, that pretty much overrules the first one, because we already know it's less than or equal to 9, but now the next clue says less than 8.5. So we're just going to go with that one, and we're going to graph it like this. So it could be any number less than 8.5. So x could be 8.2, since that's less than 8.5. It's less than 8.5. It could be 0, and it could even be a negative number, because this arrow keeps going. So I'm going to say -7. Those are 3 possible solutions for x.